Real quick before we get into today's video, just want to thank the people over on Patreon who have taken the time out to help support the channel, and just got to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for your support. Once I start offering memberships and figure out what to offer for memberships on this channel, I'll start adding the names of YouTube members as well. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the review. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto chapter 53. And now that chapter 53 is done and in the books, I gotta say, god damn, do we got a lot to talk about, man. That's the only thing I can say. Like, the Sasuke fandom is on complete suicide watch right now, and the other half of the Sasuke fandom is at a point where they've got the pitchforks out and they're getting ready to get on the plane and fly over to Japan and hunt down Masashi Kishimoto, because Sasuke got done dirty in this chapter, man. Like, we knew based on the actual spoilers that came out and some of the spoiler images that dropped that, oh, okay, Sasuke's gonna get his Rinnegan stab potentially destroyed, but it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there at all. Like, at one point, Isshiki actually takes Sasuke, and Isshiki begins choking Sasuke out so bad that Sasuke's legs begin to buckle. And I ain't gonna lie, that was a nice little touch by Ikimoto, because, you know, typically before, when he's choking dudes out and everything and he's going into the action sequences, you don't really see those small details like that. So as much as it begrudges me to actually give Ikimoto some credit for that, I did think that that was nice. And I will say that, you know, a couple of things really stood out in this chapter. Number one, you can definitely tell that this is Masashi Kishimoto writing, and it isn't because, like, oh, okay, there's a moment where he trolled the Sasuke fans. It isn't that so much as Kishimoto at one point, I remember reading the Naruto manga, waiting an entire week for a new chapter and getting a whole chapter filled with flashbacks and only getting about 5 or 6 panels that are brand new actual panels. And the reason why I bring that up is this chapter, it didn't just have one flashback, it had 2 flashbacks. It's like Kishimoto said, like, yo, I'm back, and I think it's time that we put a flashback here and we put a flashback here, and hey, how about we put a tragic story right here as well. Yo, I love this, man, because, yo, like, on one hand, like, when you get the flashbacks, you know, you see it how, you know, Kawaki's thinking back after he gets brought onto the battlefield and he sees Isshiki's doing all that trash talk, and, you know, Kawaki gets his flashback where he's thinking about Amato's words, and Amato says that, hey, you know, a monster can't escape death. The only thing we need to do is actually run out the clock, per se. What I will say, though, is I do like the fact that we only had 2 panels, and the 2 panels that we definitely needed for the flashback, we didn't get the whole scene. I thought that that was something that was a nice touch right there. Now, what I will say, though, is that Isshiki, you can tell that Isshiki going into this chapter was very confident, because he had Naruto exactly where he wanted him. He had gotten Kawaki back onto the battlefield. Sasuke couldn't really stop him. Boruto was unconscious. There was nobody who could really stand up against him. And what I like here is the fact that Isshiki says, like, look, you know what? You're doing all this talk to me, saying that you only need to escape me for 5 minutes, but let's be real here for a second. I will find you. I will catch you. I will put the karma seal on you. And my death is only going to be a really lengthy nap. After that, I will wake up, and once that happens, I'm going to be resurrected inside of your body. And what I like here is that, you know, you see in Naruto, the way that Naruto, he says damn it, but just that panicked expression on his face. I thought that that was really good, and I like how in that moment right there, you see a blend of the Fox features as well as Naruto's own features, and you get some classic shonen 1990s shonen stuff going on here. I miss this part right here, man. Like, when Naruto screams at Kawaki to run away. He's like, get away from here, run away from Isshiki as fast as you can, stay away from him. You only have to survive for 5 minutes. Isshiki looks over at Naruto, and then his foot is already on Naruto's stomach in his rib cage. Isshiki stomps Naruto so hard twice, and he does the trash talk as he does so. He tells Naruto in a disrespectful way as he looks down at him and says, will you shut the hell up? Will you go to sleep already? And then this is where Ikimoto, you see some improvement. How many times have you guys heard me say like, hey, if Ikimoto would slow down the scene a little more, it would have more maximum impact? Well, in this scene right here, you see Naruto turning, he's telling Kawaki to get away. Then all of a sudden the foot comes down, you see Kawaki's reaction, you see Isshiki hovering over Naruto, and then this is where the slowdown comes. The slowdown comes when you see Naruto, he's in that form, he's struggling to say Kawaki's name, and then you actually see the form itself go away. If that would have been Ikimoto a year ago, what you would have seen is that Ikimoto would have drawn it where Naruto was getting stomped out, and in the next form, then the next shot you would have seen is Naruto out of his Baryon form. So I like this right here. It's the small touches like this, but it's something that actually adds to it. So I thought that that was good. I think that when the anime gets it, they're gonna slow it down a little more, and you'll actually see the chakra mode out of Naruto slowly dissipate. I think that that's the only little thing, that's the next step that I'm looking for Ikimoto to take next year, because that was something that Kishimoto had a very good penchant for transitioning out of forms like that. I think that that's his next step. Now, what I will say though is, you know, once again, Ikimoto is setting up the actual impact shots, and this was actually something very well done where Kawaki runs away, Isshiki looks at him, Isshiki then blitzes Kawaki, is in front of Kawaki and says, hey, I know you want to run, but you can't actually escape, and then he's choking the guy out. And what I like is that you see Kawaki's neck get wrung, and then you see the actual close-up of Kawaki, then you see Isshiki saying it's about to be over, and then Sasuke, this is where the impact shot came in. All that setup was so you could get it to where Sasuke was the one who uses his Ameno Tejikara in order to swap places. Now, the thing about Ameno Tejikara, which is why I did that whole video on it, because a lot of people think that, you know, Sasuke has to have direct eye contact with you. That's not necessarily the case. Sasuke, as long as anything is within a 10-meter radius of him, can swap places with himself or force people to swap places. But in a situation like this, it behooved him to swap places with Kawaki. That way he's close enough to Isshiki to where he could potentially slow him down, even if it's making Isshiki knock him around to get to Kawaki. So I thought that that was a nice touch right there, and I like how, you know, Isshiki, he goes from stunned to saying, look, that doesn't matter to me right now, and Sasuke takes that moment to turn and look at Kawaki and say, pick up that object at your feet. And that's when you see Kawaki look down at the smoke bomb, and at first I'm like, okay, this is just a smoke bomb, what the hell? But we find out from Sasuke's internal monologue that this is a special smoke bomb that it seems like Konoha developed in order to obstruct visual dojutsu. So Isshiki can't actually use this Byakugan in order to track down Kawaki. So I thought that that was nice right there. I thought that was a nice touch, and the few moments that Sasuke is able to buy in that time is something that works, because Isshiki sees the smoke, and it's in that moment where Isshiki pauses for a second, takes the time to speak to Sasuke, takes the time to punch Sasuke into the ground, and then stomp Sasuke further into the ground. It's only seconds, but when you have something like 5 minutes, every second counts. And so that was a calculated gamble on Sasuke's part. I thought that that was very nice right there. But, you know, a lot of people getting pissed off over the fact that, you know, Sasuke was at the point where Isshiki is choking him to a point where Sasuke's knees are buckling and bending, and then you got Isshiki just molly-whopping this dude, choking Sasuke hard enough that I expected Sasuke to just look at him and say, choke me harder, daddy, choke me like you love me. That's when Isshiki just stomps right into Sasuke's chest at that point. Like, this was brutal. This was some type of stuff, again, you would see this in 1990s shonen. And, you know, I like this, just like how when Naruto was getting stomped out, you actually saw the blood come out of Naruto's mouth because of how hard he was being hit in the stomach. So I thought that, you know, again, those were nice little touches right there. And what I like in this is the fact that, you know, Sasuke's doing everything he can to milk this situation. And I think that a lot of people that are getting upset, they're forgetting one thing. The first thing they're forgetting is that Sasuke was already on death's door a few chapters ago. Boruto had to save Sasuke, And the other thing is again, Sasuke's already teleported himself and Naruto to this new dimension that Momoshiki has. I think that, you know, they've kind of started the process of having Sasuke use those chakra draining jutsu as a way to set up what you get at the actual end. This is actually something very similar to how, if you read the Kaguya fight very closely, Kaguya versus Naruto and Sasuke, even though she was vastly more powerful than Naruto and Sasuke, the reason why they were able to hang in there is because they were able to get Kaguya to burn through a lot of her chakra by going into all these various dimensions and using all these chakra exhausting jutsu. You're seeing a very similar thing here with Sasuke, so I thought that that was an interesting choice by Masashi Kishimoto. Now, the other thing I'll say though is I like how Ikimoto definitely, again, slowed down the scene. You can see the influence of Masashi Kishimoto. Before he was the editor for the manga, but now because his name is directly attached to it because he is the one doing the story, you can tell the Ikimoto's had to make some changes. One thing we see here is Isshiki says, like, I have the Byakugan, smoke isn't gonna be a problem. You see Isshiki cut on the Byakugan, then you see him looking at the smoke, you see Isshiki's stunned expression, and then you see the actual smoke again as he's struggling to see through it, and then you get the impact shot where you see Sasuke saying, look, this smoke can obstruct visual dojutsu. So this is what I mean when I say, like, hey, it's really nice when a scene gets slowed down because it builds toward that big ass reveal. And what is also interesting here is that after this happens, Isshiki continues to sell the moment. Okay, he continues to sell the moment, and he says, what's going on here? And then immediately he just gets uber pissed. The dude flies up into the air, and what I like there is the fact that that's when the realization hits him that he can no longer see Kawaki, and Isshiki just starts screaming. He's screaming at the top of his lungs. His aura is flaring, and in that scene that Ikimoto just drew, that right there is a direct homage to, in my opinion, one of the iconic shots from the Dragon Ball manga from one of the most popular villains. And I'll leave it to you guys down in the comment section to see which one of you guys can actually name that shot. A deal from Anime Balls Deep actually got the reference that I caught last month, and he actually talked about it in his review, if I'm not mistaken, or it was on Twitter. So let me know down in the comment section if you know which shot I'm referring to. I like how, as this is going on, you see Naruto and Sasuke, both of them look like they're in a world of hurt and pain. And I like how the way that you know that time is progressing is the fact that that smoke is there. And once the smoke begins to thin out and clear out, that's how you know that several minutes have gone by, because they only needed 5 minutes. This smoke is going to be able to hide Kawaki for a few minutes right here. So I like how Sasuke's plan is working, and you see Kawaki is crouching down in the smoke, and then when he's running, he's staying low to the ground as he's running. You're seeing a very smart Kawaki. I like that right there. I like that a lot. And what I also like is the fact that, you know, Naruto's looking, he's following Kawaki, and he's saying, just keep on running, get away, stay safe. And what I like also is the fact that Isshiki is just doing all this trash talk, saying, I'm not gonna allow you to get away from me. You can run all you want to. He's flying all across the area. He's descending into spots where he would think that Kawaki would be hiding. And this is when Isshiki says, okay, that's fine. If you're gonna insist on doing this, two can play at this game. And then once again, you see it where Ikimoto slows down the scene, where hovering in the air, and then he's looking down at Naruto, and then he starts flying down to Naruto, and then you see the speed lines around Naruto, and it's like, oh shit, prepare for impact. And Naruto turns his head and he's looking up at Isshiki, and then that's when Isshiki just slams his foot down on Naruto, starts sending Naruto further into the ground. You see the blood flying out of Naruto's mouth, and then all of a sudden the chakra arm that Kawaki has, that scientific ninja weapon tool arm that Naruto gave to Kawaki, that falls off, and Kawaki gets a threat. Isshiki says, if you don't show yourself within 20 seconds, I will rip open Naruto's chest, rip out his heart, and I will kill him. That is brutal. That is brutal right there. Like, the only way that this would be better is if Isshiki had a little bit more character development, but I like the savagery here. I like the savagery. This is really nice, and I like the sheer desperation in the way that Isshiki is drawn. And you know, again, I give Ikimoto a bunch of shit, but when he does certain panels right and they look dynamic, I give him his credit. And on this one, when you get that panel where Isshiki is turning his head upwards and he's screaming, I like the fact that because of how he's positioned, you know that Isshiki doesn't know where Kawaki is, but look at the way that the speed lines are drawn around it. The way that Isshiki's body is positioned, you get this weighty feeling to it. This is a very dynamic panel. I like this one because Isshiki's saying run as long as you want. You don't care that your beloved Hokage will die. I love that right there. I love that. And I like how Sasuke puts 2 and 2 together and he's like, damn it, Kawaki's gonna fall for this shit, you bastard. I love that. I love that. And I like how you get this, again, this flashback where, again, in typical Masashi Kishimoto fashion, it's like, hey, tragic backstory, flashback time, people. And the one thing I would say is the difference in how Kishimoto would do his flashbacks and the way that Ikimoto does them is when Kishimoto did the flashbacks, the panels were mostly darkened out to where you could see the clear difference between the actual panels of what's going on and the and the flashback. Now in this one, you see the playing with the dark and the light, with the black and the light background, so you see it playing with a little bit. So I thought that that was a nice touch by Ikimoto on that one. Like, I have to go back and look at the original flashback that we got, I believe in, I want to say Boruto chapter 26 or 27. That's when you find out that Jigen was beating on Kawaki and that Kawaki was purchased by Jigen and sold by his father. I think this was good because, you know, you see it how Kawaki, he's shown running through the hideout where Kara had everybody and where Isshiki had all those previous vessels, and you just see it. Jigen's walking through that hideout and he's saying, how many times I have to tell you it's useless to hide, Kawaki? And you see Kawaki, he's holed up in a corner, and then you get the close-up, you see him shuddering, and then in the next panel, this is what I mean when I say slow down the scenes, because this works very well. In the very next panel, you don't see all of Jigen, you just see the silhouette of his cloak, and you see how Kawaki all of a sudden just jerks up because he can hear the footsteps coming, and then you see the close-up of his face. He's looking out the corner of his eye. Up until that point, his eyes were closed. And then that's when you see Jigen standing there with this rod saying, prepare to be punished, Kawaki. And then you see the frightened expression on Kawaki's face, and you just see how his pupils are whited out. Very, very good. Very good. And what I like here is how they use that as a way to actually transition back over to Kawaki holding on to the arm that Naruto gave him, and you have Isshiki beginning his countdown from 10 seconds, and you go right back to it to where, again, you're getting more flashbacks. You're getting the flashback of Naruto telling Kawaki, like, hey, I'll teach you ninjutsu. You remind me of me when I was your age, and I'll make you my student. From now on, you're my student going forward. And so I thought that that was good. And what I will say is that I like how one of the things you see is the huge payoff, which is the fact that Kawaki uses a fire style jutsu, and he knows full well that that's not going to work on somebody like Jigen, but it's in that time that Jigen managed to bust through that fire style jutsu, in my opinion, that Kawaki might have made the Shadow Clone. He might have made it before that, before he actually showed himself. But what I like here is the fact that Isshiki grabs onto Kawaki and he's saying, I'm putting the karma seal on you. He says, like, look, you know, you're doing all this talking, but you can't use ninjutsu. You only exist to be a vessel. And then you have Kawaki saying, well, Lord Hokage said that I'm gonna be his student. And then that's when Isshiki just breaks him down and says, like, look, you only exist to be a vessel. It's thanks to that affection that Naruto made you feel, that you gave yourself up, and it's because of that, it's because I was able to find you. That's your reality. And I like how Kawaki kind of pushes back and says that a world without Naruto isn't a world that means anything to me. I'd rather die than actually have Naruto actually die. And what I like here is the fact that what they're doing here is when that eventual betrayal of Kawaki and Naruto happens, you're gonna look back at chapters like these. And so I like how they're making you look forward to the flash forward sequence, because you're wondering how the hell did we get here. So whether or not people realize that we're actually starting the fall of Kawaki now. So I like this. I like this a lot, and I like the way the art's done in terms of actually having the karma seal spread across Kawaki's body as Isshiki puts it on him. And what I will say though, on another thing, is we're seeing that karma can be applied in a few different ways, because you have so many people that are jumping onto the Boruto manga from the anime. They think that the way that the anime did it when Momoshiki gave it to Boruto, that it's the exact same thing, and it's not. It's not, where Boruto and Momoshiki were inside this orange background and with the Otsutsuki statues in the background, and it's in a time space where only they exist. In the manga, when Momoshiki put the karma seal onto Boruto, everybody was in their same place that they were in. The only difference is that Boruto could kind of move around and time itself stopped for everybody except for Momoshiki and Boruto, and then Sasuke had to fake like he was continued to be stopped. And what I like here is the fact that we see it's a little bit different with Isshiki. Time itself didn't stop, but the same principle is there. Isshiki tries to put the karma seal on the Kawaki before he actually gets killed off. Now in this instance, Isshiki still has the ability to move around and everything, and it's before his body begins to disintegrate. When Momoshiki did it, he was literally hit with the killing blow, and so he had to do it within that split second right there. And that might be why it was actually a little different. But what I will say is that the reveal at the end, where Kawaki reveals that it's a shadow clone, and just the angry, shocked expression, the way that Isshiki's body is disintegrating in real time, and the way that the karma seal is shown being disintegrating off of Kawaki's body because it's a shadow clone. Very good job here. Now the one thing I will say though is that there is still the potential that Kawaki still got Isshiki's karma seal, and I'm going to touch on that in the video because it was something I caught towards the end of the chapter when I reread it before recording. You know, obviously that was the good setup right there, because at the end, that's when BoruShiki shows up. BoruShiki blitzes, and BoruShiki blitzes Sasuke, and you just see the setup because you see the speed lines, nobody's really looking, and Sasuke's guard is completely lowered because he's grilling Naruto, and he's saying like, look man, what's going on with that form that you use? Because the chakra consumption, it wasn't normal. There's some serious risk to using that jutsu. Tell me what it is. And the reason why Sasuke can know it is, again, his Rinnegan and his Sharingan are able to see chakra as a color. So even Sasuke knew that there was something crazy going on. But what I like here is that just before Momoshiki is able to stab Sasuke, Sasuke's in the process of turning around. So that was really, really cool, man. That was cool how Sasuke got stabbed, and then you see Boruto land on his feet. The one thing that I think probably could have been a little bit better is you actually see the kunai get pulled out from it, but that might be a little too gory for V-Jump, so I can kind of see why maybe they didn't do that. But I mean, at the same time, we saw Goku get a whole hand through his chest at one point in V-Jump, so it is what it is on that one. That was just an Ikimoto style choice, but I like how Sasuke falls down to the ground, clutching his Rinnegan, screaming, and Naruto for the very first time actually sees Boruto as BoruShiki. This is interesting. This is a hell of a cliffhanger here. So my chapter question for you guys, is, how do you feel about Isshiki being taken down in this manner, and how do you feel about Sasuke making several sacrifices in this chapter, and now potentially having sacrificed his Rinnegan eye because he was caught off guard? And the second question I have for you guys is, Naruto didn't fully answer Sasuke when Sasuke asked what's the risk to using this jutsu. What do you think Naruto's fate is? Do you think that Naruto is safe, or do you think that Naruto suffered some drastic long-term damage going forward? And will this affect the Naruto versus BoruShiki battle that's about to happen? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.